All right, Pete, let's talk integrated cost management, or the ICM platform. These are the things that help control costs. Like, it's one thing to do the insurance side through the stop loss policy. The other side of the equation is long-term trying to control costs. So what is the ICM platform, and do I have to do everything in it in the first year?
Think about one of the two elements that Pareto, one of the two main missions here at Pareto. Obviously, the first one is to reduce that risk and volatility of insurance. We do that by giving all employers that wonderful stop loss policy, best-in-class stop loss policy. But again, once we have that in place, we immediately pivot and move on to mission number two, ultimately, and that's lower the unit cost of healthcare. Right? How do we do that? Well, one of the great things about the captive, again, using the buying power of the captive, 850,000 employees and growing. Okay. Getting all the things that we talked about that a Fortune 25 company would get, okay? Part of that is the ICM platform, this wonderful package of best-in-class vendors that we employ, right? And then, the ability for those vendors to, again, start working on lowering that unit cost of healthcare for our employers.
Well, and imagine when an employer sees that all for the first time, this suite of services or solutions, they might go, oh, that seems like a lot. So does an employer have to engage with every single one of them in year one?
It's a great question.
Okay.
A lot of HR directors, upon seeing our presentation for the first time, are getting overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Wow, look at all the work that I now have to do that I didn't have to do before. Okay, and I want to hit the pause button on that and understand that most employers that come into our program are going to select one, two, or maybe three vendors that make the most sense for their population. And think about this too. If you're coming from fully insured and you don't have data, now we have data in a self-funded plan, right? So we understand that how you're spending your money as an employer. After we view those claims data, that claims data, we can then employ one of the vendors that will help that employer lower that unit cost of healthcare.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily everything, right? So maybe give me an example of what's a common thing that's done in year one.
So let's say they have a couple cancers on the plan, right?
Okay.
Obviously, we have a wonderful partnership with Cancer Care, right? So that's one of the early vendors that we would employ, right, using the Center of Excellence for Cancer Care to help manage that claim. Okay, that's just an example. If they have, for whatever reason, a lot of orthopedic injuries, scans and X-rays and those sort of things. We actually have a vendor, KissCard, that makes perfect sense to help curtail some of those claims with a direct contract. Also, zero copay, zero out of pocket. So I think that's one of the first vendors that is going to have an immediate impact on some of the employees. Having the ability to take their kid to the orthopedic to get stitches or to get a scan or X-ray without having to come out of pocket. So again, we'll look at the claims data and then decide which one of the vendors makes the most sense out of the gate.
Well, and even some, they might